everyone, and welcome to another Marks & Crafts figurine review. Today we're reviewing yet another Portrait of Pirates figure from One Piece, and this is Portrait of Pirates Warriors Alliance Onami, also known as One Onami. And so yeah, this is Nami from the Straw Hats. And while I'm not up to date with One Piece in any way, shape or form, it's not going to stop me getting figures like these. And from what I saw, this is probably the best Nami figure that they've ever produced, or at least in my opinion, I think it's probably the best Nami figure they've ever produced. And yeah, I just had to get it. I'm so glad that they did a re-release, so she's not a nightmare to find. But as always, we'll quickly go over the box. So you can see there's a window into the figure there, as well as some nice splash art. There's the promo art here, all the regular bits and bobs from Portrait of Pirates line, the Mega House brand, the character's name, the Portrait of Pirates logo, Excellent Model Limited, One Piece, the official Toei sticker. And the Luffy's box and Yamato's box were done in a similar sort of Japanese style. But this almost looks like more of the sort of Japanese inn style. It's like a sliding door window, which is kind of cool. And on the side here, they've continued that aesthetic. There's more promo art. There's a bunch of different shots on the back, as well as all the different legal info. Another shot on the side, and a shot on top. So pretty standard, but it doesn't need to be anything too fancy. It's just a nice aesthetic. But yeah, let's open her up and have a better look. So out of the box, here's Onami all set up, and there isn't a lot of setup to do. It just comes in two pieces, which is the figure itself and the base. And yeah, it's a very, very well done figure. I've looked at a few scale figures on this channel, as well as a few scale One Piece figures, and I've said it before, compared to my other prize figure reviews, there's a noticeable difference between scale and prize and pop-up parade and scale. It's just, we're in a whole different realm, basically. It's what you pay the money for, really. There's so many different textures, so many different colors, so much more effort put into these figures, which is also why if there's errors, it's a much bigger problem. Fortunately, I haven't run into too many errors on my scale figures, and the ones that I have, like the Shoujo Darkstalkers ones, they're all easily forgiven because it's nothing in the main sort of viewing angle that would ruin my experience of the figure. And so far from looking at this Nami, there's nothing ruining this one either. It's a very simple outfit. It's just one of her Wano outfits, because I believe she's got more than one. But this is the basic one that we call Onami. And I'm not really sure why they changed their names, but I do know that everyone's sort of referred to by a few different names, like Luffy's Luffy Taro, Nami's Onami. I believe Chopper's got a different name, Usopp, Sanji, the whole gang. But yeah, so they've got different names, but I don't really know why. But it's cool, we've got new designs, and I think Nami looks really good as a sort of kunoichi ninja girl sort of look. So it's a very tight and form-fitting outfit, as you can tell. Definitely a One Piece character due to the very outrageous hourglass type of proportions, but they've executed the style perfectly in a way that, while the unique Oda art style is very striking, it doesn't look too exaggerated in terms of you can't really tell who this character is meant to be. Like, you can tell that it's meant to be Nami, and you can also tell that it's just like a sort of general normal body proportions, just slightly exaggerated with like a thinner waist than normal, or more exaggerated body proportions. But yeah, it's basically, I'm saying, it looks good even if you're not a big fan of the One Piece art style. Thankfully, I've warmed up to the style. It was a little bit weird at first, but I'm all on board now. So sculpt-wise, it's a really nice pose. It's cute, it's dynamic. Much like a lot of these Wano Portrait of Pirates, there's a lot of dynamic motion to it, mainly due to either a character running or wind blowing through their hair and things like that, and this is sort of both of those. So it's a dynamic pose, and you can see sort of the direction of the wind or the direction that she's running in, or jumping in, whatever you want to call this pose. But yeah, it's nice. There's some really great sculpted detail. Her face looks fantastic. We'll get in closer as well. They've really nailed the sort of round yet sharp look that One Piece has got. It's very exaggerated, very fun, very crazy. Her arms are quite skinny and very well defined, even though there's not a lot of muscle and things like that. You can see her chest is very well defined as well. The outfit is actually layered on it, so it's not just painted on. You can see that texture, no problem. You can see all the folds in the outfit in the back, the bow, as well as the folds as it sways in the wind. There's some nice sculpting on the bottom of her shoe. We've got some really great sculpting on her. I'm guessing that's an eternal pose or something like that. Again, not far enough into One Piece to know what her little bracelet is, because it looks different to a normal eternal pose. She's also got what looks to be some money, probably the Wano currency, in her hands, and that's pretty well done. The paint is a little bit messy on it. I'm not sure if that's just overfilling that or overspraying that, but yeah. Then moving to her feet, you can see the sandals are well detailed. They've painted her toes and the sandals wrap around her foot. And you can see more of the skirt down there. They've sculpted her legs beautifully, more folds in the dress, and a nice little details on her bow and ribbon in the front. So yeah, the sculpt work is fantastic. The paint work is also equally fantastic. There's some beautiful shading along the head. This isn't a trick of the light. That's actually a lighter shade on the hair and darker in the back, so it creates a natural flow of light. There's a little bit of shading on the dress, but it's enough to make it really pop. A lot of it is shaded due to natural light, which is really cool as well. Nice detail work. Mostly, I think these are mostly decals on the dress. If it is all hand painted or something like that, that's even better. The detail work on her eternal pose is nice. Her tattoo's good. The shading on the ribbon is fantastic. Her hair tie also looks good. You can see that shading continue as the hair flows and gets darker as it goes out. More nice paintwork on the back. Nice paintwork on her shoes and her toenails. And her fingernails are also painted, her earrings are painted. The earrings are probably the only bit that aren't the best, just because they do not convince me of being earrings at all. They genuinely look like part of the ear just painted. But everything else looks pretty damn fantastic. And all the paint on her face looks great as well. The eyes are very nicely detailed and the mouth detail is good as well. So there's a nice full shot of her, and again an octagon base, which is pretty standard for the Portrait of Pirates line. I have my ramblings about the pop-up parades with their hexagon bases. I think those are half-assed, whereas I think the octagon bases for the Portrait of Pirates are more forgivable, because they are a more premium product, and there is usually a bit more thought put into the octagon base. These last two 101s, which is the Luffy and the Nami, are a little simple, but they get the job done. And at this point in time, it is fully consistent with the brand, so there's really no changing that. But I also know that sometimes they play around with it. So it's like the Yamato didn't have a base at all, and I know that the Zoro Juro has got a really cool twist on the octagon, which is nice. And it's sort of self-referential. So yeah, overall, it's a very, very good figure. Glad that they re-released it, because the aftermarket was insane on this one, and quite frankly, not worth it. It is a fantastic figure, but if you're paying 3 times the retail price for a very standard but very good figure, I think that's a little bit too far. Which is why I'm not a fan of like the Playback Memories Miss All Sunday, as well as what happened with the Sailing Again Portrait of Pirates. I really wish they'd do more regular re-releases on the figures that would always sell out, like New World versions of all the Straw Hats and things like that. It's a bit silly that you do sort of one and done, or only a couple re-releases over the span of like 2 or 3 years of the original release. Like, these are figures that you could probably produce almost endlessly and it would be fine. So that's a bit of a shame, but I'm glad that they re-released this one and re-released it in time for me to get into One Piece and in time for me to grab it without destroying my wallet or sanity in the process. So yeah, I do think this is probably the best Nami figure I've seen. It just looks fantastic. Now before we finish up, let's do a quick size comparison. So here she is next to Pop-Up Parade Chun-Li. Pop-Up Parade's about 1/10 scale and Portrait of Pirates are about 1/8 scale. Neither of them are exactly in those scales, but that's where they roughly hover around, so you can tell that Chun-Li's smaller. Here is the HG Gundam Ariel, which is roughly in scale with Figma's, which is about 1/12 scale, even though Gundams are 1/144 scale. Here's SH Figuarts Anya, and she is 1/12 scale and very tiny. And here's the previous Portrait of Pirates that I looked at, which is the Luffy Taro statue. And you can see that the Straw Hats scale perfectly together. Every other Portrait of Pirates scales perfectly together, except the massive exceptions like Shirahoshi or Kaido, who are way, way, way bigger than they are depicted, but it is only realistic for them to make figures of that size. As well as Big Mom coming out later on. But yeah, they look good together. So overall, Onami is another fantastic addition to the Portrait of Pirates line. I really like the one-out aesthetic, and it is nice having multiple figures match that aesthetic as well. While Onami's colour scheme is a lot brighter than Luffy's, you can tell they're both still in the same line, even though Luffy is painted a lot more seriously than Nami, who matches the One Piece colour scheme a lot more, a lot of bright, vibrant colours, not as much heavy shading. But both of them do fit together quite nicely, which is very good. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed that video, and I'll see you all next time.